Yes, in the previous session we had a much discussion on what is a hypothesis, how to state a hypothesis, what are the different types of hypothesis, and many more things about the hypothesis. Now we'll go to the next topic, that is writing a research proposal. How to write a proposal, what are the contents of a research proposal, and what are the different types of the research proposal. Of course, before development of the research proposal, there is another document which is prepared by the researcher, that is called as research design. Research design is part of research proposal. So research design we'll discuss in the next module in much detail. Let me now focus on the concept of research proposal. What is a research proposal? Who will write it, and for what purpose it is written? In brief, we will start about this, and then we'll go for the contents of the research proposal. So once the research design, just now I was talking about research design. After formulation of working hypothesis, the researcher will prepare a written document which is called as research design. So research design is nothing but, again, it's a written document or a blueprint or a layout which is prepared by the researcher, which talks about the research approaches, which method we have to go for using in order to collect the data, how to analyze the data, what should be our sample size, what should be our sampling method, what should be our sampling framework, what document we have to use for selecting the data. All this description will be there in the research design. So research design, basically it is a document which is prepared by the researcher, which talks about the research approach to be used and sample design. It talks about the research and sample. Research design and sample design both are written by the researcher. Once this design is ready, then budgeting and scheduling of the project is accomplished, a written proposal should be prepared by the researcher. Why this proposal is prepared? You know, there are many things. What is the content of the research proposal, we will discuss later, but now we will discuss why such a proposal is needed. Before conducting the research, this is a written statement. Proposal, sometimes business proposal, it may vary from 2 to 3 pages to 20 to 25 detailed proposal, which will be prepared by the research agencies or research organization. The very purpose of preparing a proposal is that management will give the assignment of conducting the research to the research agency. Research agency, as per the requirements of the management, will prepare a proposal. That proposal is used as what we call a document to communicate between the research team and the management. In order to get the approval for conducting the research, proposal will be developed by the research organization. Again, it is a written document prepared by the research agency or research organization before the field work it starts. Why it is done is to get the approval of the management. A document is prepared which is called as a research proposal. So this proposal contains the essence of entire project, what the research project is about. The whole essence of the research project is described in the proposal, and it serves as a contract between researcher and the management. And that will be a document which is used for communication between management and the research organization. The research requirement will be communicated to the research organization. Research team will prepare a proposal, present it in front of the management. Management may either accept the proposal or modify the proposal, or sometimes it will be rejected also. So that document will be used by the management to know whether the project will go as per our requirement or not, or the project will be carried out as per the estimated budget, estimated time or not. So that the management will come to know with the help of a proposal. So normally proposal will be prepared by the researcher and it is presented in front of the management for approval and for sanctioning of the budget. So it also acts like a document between researcher and the management. Proposal covers all phases of the research process. The various phases of the research process will be detailed out in the proposal. It describes mainly research problem. What exactly is the management problem? How that management problem is converted into a research problem? What are the research questions? What approach we are going to use in order to collect the data? the design, research design. What is the technique which is used in collecting the data, analyzing the data, sampling design. Just now I talked about what is sampling design, description about the sample size, sampling frame, sampling method, etc. And then how the data will be collected, how it is analyzed, and how the results will be reported, whether verbal reporting will happen or a written report is produced. Everything will be described in the research proposal. It gives a cost estimate and a time schedule for completing the project. The proposal will also consist of the cost estimate or the budget estimate, how much budget is required for conducting a particular research project, and what is the time schedule, when it will start and when it will end, what is the duration of the research project. Even that will be detailed out in the sometimes even activity chart. First week what will happen, second week what will happen, third week, month wise. In that way, detailed description of the time schedule will also be given in the proposal. So it gives cost estimate, time schedule for completing the project. Now we will talk about in detail what all are the contents of the research proposal. Although the format of a research proposal may vary considerably, most proposals address all steps of the research process and contain these following elements or components. It varies from a type of research also. Academic research reports will have some format, business research studies will have some format, but these all are some of the common elements which exist among all type of research proposals. There are different sections of the proposal, we will discuss one by one. The first content of the research proposal is executive summary. The proposal should begin with a summary of major points from each of the other sections, presenting an overview of the entire proposal. You know, sometimes busy executives in the organization, just by going through the executive summary only, they'll come to know about the entire project, what it is about. One-page document or sometimes 1.5 page executive summary will be written, which is the what we call the gist of the entire proposal will be explained in the executive summary. Why it is called executive summary? For the busy executives who are not having enough time to go through the entire 20 to 25 pages proposal, from the summary itself they'll come to know what the study is about, how it is beneficial to me. That understanding they will get by going through the executive summary. So executive summary, it will be in 1000 words or roughly 1 page content. So the entire gist of the research project will be just written in a para or 2 paragraphs. Next component is background of the problem. The background to the problem. Background to the problem is why the problem occurred, how the problem occurred, what exactly is the problem. Problem could be a gap in the existing knowledge or body of knowledge of the management, or it could be a decision dilemma or decision situation faced by the management, whatever it is. So some decision problem which is faced by the management. So what is that, why that has occurred, why that has occurred. A brief background of that problem will be written down in this particular section. That is what the background of the problem. The background to the problem, including environmental context, should be discussed. Environmental context is why the problem has occurred, whether it is because of the micro-environmental variables or macro-environmental variables. Micro-environmental variables are nothing but the problem must be pertaining to the customers, pertaining to the competitors, pertaining to the organization itself, pertaining to the intermediaries, suppliers, etc. Macro-environment is nothing but problem is pertaining to the what we call political issue or government issue or technological issue or natural environment related problem, etc. So what is the environmental context of the problem? So that will be studied, that will be written down in the background of the problem. So once the background of the problem is made clear, then the next section is problem definition. The problem is written in a very clear statement, operational terms, describing all the variables which are there under the study. Normally a statement of the problem including the specific components. We have discussed the components of the research problem. What is a unit of analysis? What all are the variables which the researcher will be studying? That will be specified in the research problem. All these things should be presented. Statement of the problem including specific components should be presented. If this statement has not been developed, the objectives of the marketing research project should be clearly specified. Once the research definition is laid down, then on the basis of that, research questions will be formulated. On the basis of research questions, objectives of the research will be formulated. So this is what problem definition and what all are the objectives of the research. Of course, these two things we have discussed already as a separate heading. What is problem definition and how the objectives of the research will be explained through a problem identification process. After that, the next step is approach to the problem. Problem is clear, objectives of the study will be made clear. Then the next step is what approach will be used for solving the problem. At a minimum, review of the relevant academic and trade literature should be presented. Review of literature could be one approach. Existing literature will be reviewed, thorough analysis will be made out of that, and the nature of the problem will be understood. This is one thing. Along with some kind of analytical model. Sometimes analytical models or theoretical frameworks, conceptual frameworks. We have discussed all these things. These all are the different approaches to the problem. One is discussion with the decision makers, discussion, discussing with the industry experts. Secondary data analysis will be carried out. Organization study, organization analysis will be done. Sometimes qualitative analysis will also be carried out. So which approach you are going to use in order to understand the nature of the problem. So that is written down here. If the research questions and hypotheses have been identified, then these should be included in the proposal. Approach to the problem is, which also should state what all are the questions, what are the research questions, and the working hypothesis, what all are the hypotheses which the researcher will clearly state for the study. So this is about the approach to the problem. So once this is done, approach to the problem is written, then the next important, this is a very important section in the proposal, research design. How will be the structure of the research project? Design is nothing but the entire blueprint of the research will be given in this section, which is called as research design. The research design adopted, whether it is exploratory research or descriptive research or causal research. We have discussed already what is exploratory research, what is descriptive, and what is causal research. Research design, it varies in case of all these three research studies. Exploratory research design is very simple. Descriptive, it is moderate. When we talk about research design in case of causal research, it is more detailed one. Because causal research studies, they aim at experimentation. Descriptive research studies, even they aim at data collection and testing of hypothesis. But exploratory research studies are basically carried out to formulate the hypothesis or to formulate the research problem. So hence they will be the introductory research studies. So research design adopted, whether the design research is exploratory, descriptive or causal, that is specified in the research design. Like for example, if the study is all about understanding the reasons behind declining sales. So this is a descriptive research study. The researcher has to clearly mention the approach used is, the type of research is descriptive in nature. Again in descriptive, what type of data will be collected, how it is collected, from whom it is collected. I will just explain what all are those. First we have to specify what type of design it is, then information should be provided on the various components in the research design. One is kind of information to be obtained, what type of data you will be gathering, whether primary data or secondary data. Second is, if at all if you are collecting primary data, which method of administration you are using. Survey administration, whether you are going for a personal interview or a mail survey or a questionnaire or an electronic interview, etc. Which method of data collection you will be using, that must be clearly specified. Third is scaling technique. If at all if you are using attitude measurement scales, then which scales you are using for measuring, whether ratio scales or there are 4 different types of scales. We will discuss all those in data collection. What are the primary scales of measurement and what are the different types of Likert attitude measurement scales. So scaling part we'll discuss later. For now I'll just talk about scaling technique. Which type of scale you are using to collect the data or to measure the data. Then nature of questionnaire. How will be the type of questionnaire? How many number of questions you will be asking? Type of questions asked, length, average length of the questionnaire, like how many questions you will be asking, which type of questions you will be asking, what will be the interviewing time, that will be clearly specified in the research design. And last is sampling plan. Sampling plan is nothing but what type of sampling method you will be using, whether probability sampling method or non-probability sampling method, what is the size of the sample, what sampling frame or document researcher will be using while selecting the samples. So that will be clearly specified. So this is all about research design. So once the research design is done, the next section content of the research proposal is field work or data collection. So till this the research proposal is a written document, everything will be on pen and paper only. So how the data will be gathered, when it will be gathered, everything will be written down. Now how actually the field work it begins or how it starts, what exactly is involved in data collection method. The proposal should discuss about how the data will be collected and who will collect it. Like for example, if a survey is carried out, simple survey is survey administration using a questionnaire. Such type of survey, it's not required to have an educated or what we call expert for conducting such type of survey. Even a layman, if you hand over a standard questionnaire to a layman, a person who has passed SSLC can do the survey. But when you want to conduct a depth interview or personal interview, in that case, experts will be hired for conducting such type of interview. So here in data collection, we have to clearly specify what type of data we are collecting, who will be collecting the data. The data, how the data will be collected is whether you are using, which method you are using for collecting the data, whether it is interview method or observation method or experimentation method. Again in interview, there are different types of interviews. In observation, there are different types of observation. Which type of observation you are doing? Experimentation. Again in experimentation, there are different types of experimental design. Depending upon the nature of the study, depending upon the accuracy of the results expected, depending upon the availability of time and budget, different types of methods can be used for conducting the research, that is for collecting the data. So you have to clearly specify what type of data you are gathering and who will collect the data. If the field work is to be subcontracted to another supplier, this should be stated. You know, most of the times research organizations, they hire outside third parties for collection of the data. Third parties, subcontractors will be used for collecting the data. Now, who will be collecting the data, even that will be specified. Control mechanisms to ensure the quality of data collected should be described. Control mechanism in the sense, if at all, if the task is given to outside third party of collection of data, then what control mechanism is used by the research organization? Whether certain checks are carried out to know how the data is gathered, whether it is really conducted in a required objective manner or not. So such control mechanisms or cross-checking will happen. When it will happen, how frequently it will happen, who will cross-check all those things. Even that will be specified in the research proposal. Normally what will happen, if a third party is used for collecting the data, then researchers what they do is they will cross-check by actually doing the survey once again. They again go to the sample whom the person has already surveyed and collect it once again, and just to check whether the information is really collected by circulating that questionnaire to that person or not. So such type of cross-checking will be done by the researcher. So this is another thing. So this is all about the data collection section. Next, data analysis. In data analysis section, the kind of data analysis that will be conducted, how analysis is carried out, whether the researcher is interested in only cross tabulation, simple cross tabulation or univariate analysis. When there is only one variable involved in the study, then univariate analysis will be carried out. Multivariate is when there are more than two or more variables are involved, more than two variables are involved, then multivariate analysis will be carried out. Cross tabulation is when you are tabulating two aspects at a time or two or more aspects at a time, then such a concept is called as cross tabulation. How the data analysis will happen, whether the data analysis is carried out manually or by using computer packages or by using statistical tools. In data analysis again, there are many techniques, parametric and non-parametric tests which are used for data analysis. How the data will be analyzed. Again, before data analysis, there is one more process called as data preparation or data processing. Editing of data, coding of data, tabulation of data. How the data will be edited, who will do that, which editing process will be used, how the data is coded, whether the study involves pre-coded questionnaire or after collection of the data, the responses will be coded. This is one more question. Then tabulation, how should we tabulate the data, whether manually we have to tabulate the data or by using machines or computers. So all these are certain questions which will be described in the data analysis part. Again, which tools the researcher will be using for analyzing the data. So even that will be clearly specified in the data analysis section. After that, next is reporting. Reporting is, the proposal should clearly specify whether intermediate reports will be presented and at what stages. You know, normally the research organization will be presenting the proposal twice, thrice till the completion of the project. Intermediate reports are nothing but phase wise the reporting will happen. How the reporting will happen, whether it is, if it is intermediate reporting, then at what stages the reporting should happen. What will be the form of final report. So at last, once the project completes, how will be the final reporting, whether the management wants it to be verbally presented, which is called as oral reporting, or else in a written format. If at all, if it is a written format, how should be the format, what should be the format of the report, that will be very clearly specified. This is all about reporting. Next is cost and time. The cost of the project and time schedule. Cost is nothing but the budget required, the estimate of the budget for conducting various activities throughout the research project, and a time schedule, like roughly estimate like when it will start and when it will end. Broken down by phases, as I have said, if it is a 6 months project, month wise the activity chart will be prepared, time activity chart will be prepared. Sometimes CPM or PERT chart might also be included in large projects. A payment schedule is also worked out in advance, like how the payment will be made to the research organization, phase wise, how much payment will be made at different phases. Everything will be described in cost and time section. The final section is appendices. Appendices, it includes any statistical or other information that is of interest to the researcher. Only to a few people should be contained in the appendices. Like for example, if some statistical tables or some financial tables, like the balance sheet or profit and loss account, any pictures, photographs, if they are used in the research study. So such things will be put in the appendices. This is all additional information which the management is interested in seeing. These all things will not be put in the main part of the proposal, but at the appendices. So with this in detail, we have discussed the content of the research proposal. What is a research proposal, why it is prepared, and for whom it is prepared, and what are the various contents of the research proposal. Thank you.